In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Dear grade 8 students, let's continue what we stopped at about our lesson today, the relative pronouns. Okay, let's have some exercises. And before we go into the exercises, we must have a quick revision. We use whose to talk about positions. We use where to talk about places. We use when to refer to time. We use where for the reasonable clauses. Okay, and we use the relative pronouns in order not to repeat the nouns, in order not to repeat words more than one time. They replace the pronouns, okay, that are repeated. Okay, I talked to the girl. So, choose whose car, which car, that car. We use, yes, whose. Whose is used when we talk about what positions, okay? So whose car has had broken down in the front of the shop. Mr. Richards. Mr. Richards is the thing noun, is the thing or noun or what? Or a person, thing, object, place, time. So Mr. Richards is a person. So who? Mr. Richards, who is a taxi driver, lives on the corner. I live in a house in Norwich. Yes, Norwich is a place or uh, so the place is a time, the thing is a person. So we, of course, in it's common to use where with the places, but here can we use where or which? In fact, we will use which. What is the difference between which and where whenever we talk about places? In fact, if we are talking about a place to describe it in general, we use which. But if we are talking about a place that an action happened in, we use where. Okay, this is my house and I give a full description about it. I didn't say that there is an action that happened in. I live in a house which is in East Anglia. So Anglia is this is just a description. So there is no action that happened in. So if there is an action that happened in a place, we use where. For example, Alex is my favorite resort where I spent the last vacation. So I spent the last vacation. An action happened in the place. That's why I used where. Okay, I spent a year. Okay, I spent a year in Australia. I was only 23 years old. I spent a year. A year. So a year is I spent a year. A year is time, place, thing, or person. Of course, it's a time. So when? So I spent a year in Australia when I was only 23 years old. I was talking down Richmond Street where I heard a loud noise. The children, yes, whom? Because this is direct object about people, okay? Whom? The car that the bank robbers escaped in was orange, okay? We can't use who, we can't use whose with the car, but we can use that because that comes instead of all the relative pronouns. Okay, rewrite these sentences using the suitable relative pronouns. Okay, use a participle clause to add the information in italics to the main sentence. I often use a cheese. The cheese is imported from Paris. Where the repeated noun, the cheese, the cheese, the can we say the cheese, the cheese? No. So we will delete the second word, the cheese. Okay. So I often buy cheese, which is imported from Paris. Venice is a wonderful place. We spent our last holiday there. We spent. There is an action happened in it, so we can't use which. Venice is a wonderful place. So Venice, we will put the relative noun directly after the noun. So Venice is a wonderful place where we spent our last holiday. And you can say Venice, where we spent our last holiday, is a wonderful place. Venice, where we spent our last holiday is a wonderful place. The book is on the table. It has a blue cover. Okay, so where is the noun that is repeated? The book and it. We will delete it. We will put we will put what? Which instead of it, and we will replace. We will move the second clause to come after the book. So the book, which has a blue cover, is on the table. This is the date your book has to be read by then. Of course, this is time. So this is the date. We will delete. Okay, we will delete then. Okay, we will delete by then. We will delete by then. Then we will add when. So this is the date when your book has to be read. That is the boy I told you about him last night. So we are talking about a direct object that refers to people. So we will use what? Whom. Okay, try to rewrite this sentence and I'll give you just 5 seconds to finish. Okay, so that is the boy whom I told you about, or that is the boy about whom I told you last night. Helen has just arrived. She had a car accident. Helen, who had a car accident, has just arrived. Okay, see you later. Goodbye.